help her out. And I think that those are important messages that are being left out. And the other thing is that there's only certain people that can deliver this message. There's very few people that can come and tell you what's on the other end of the drug game. There's a lot of people that will sell you the dreams of the cars, the houses, the women, the jewelry. I mean, like he said about William Roberts, he's running around telling people that he got this Rolls Royce, all this jewelry, all these fancy trips and everything that he's doing from selling drugs. Well, we all know that Def Jam is giving him that money. But for a young kid on the street who hasn't learned how to think for himself, he can get influenced by that. And that's basically what happened with Rick Ross, the real Rick Ross. That's how he got started selling drugs. Somebody came up to him and showed him half of the story. See, they didn't tell him the whole thing. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm going around the country, and I'm hoping that I can shed light to others. And maybe you may not need this, but maybe you may be able to tell somebody else, what happened. Because, see, when I was growing up, I never learned how to read and write. I was 28 years old the first time I ever read a book. And the book that I started off reading was law books. Because I was sitting in prison. I was put in situations where I had to get this information. Because my lawyer, I ran out of money, and my lawyer was no longer fighting my case the way I felt that it should be fought. And during that time, he gave me probably one of the most valuable things that I ever got before in my life. And I use that right now today in everything that I do. He told me that any time that somebody else wants something for you more than you want it for yourself, that you was in trouble. What I took from that, because the day that he told me that, I went back to my cell, and I had became what I call a crime prevention while I was in prison. Because before, I really didn't think. Somebody told me something, it was somebody I trusted, I believed in, I just did it. But after being in prison, I started to think for myself. And I started to analyze everything that was said to me. I wanted to know why. So a lot of times we don't ask enough questions. We just go along with the flow. Everybody else is doing it, why not do it? And that's basically what happened to me. I was just going along with the flow. Well, after I went to prison and I analyzed what he was saying, my lawyer was telling me that if I didn't get into those law books, that he wasn't going to do it. He said that he had other clients. He had a wife that he was going home to, and he asked me, where was I going after this attorney interview? I was going back to a cell that was about 4 by 6, something that I wasn't accustomed to living in. I had to change that. And lucky I did, because if I hadn't, I would still be in prison today. I'm the one that found the witches that set me free. Well, from that experience, I took it from there and I started to analyze everything that I did in my life. I went back over my life to find out how I got in my position. Because believe me that we're all responsible for where we are today. I mean, we can blame our downfalls on other people, but when it all comes down, it's going to fall on your shoulders. So when I was sitting in that prison, and I was looking at all these people in this courtroom, and I said, how did this guy get to be a lawyer? How did this person get to be a judge? How did this guy get to be a DA agent? Well, what I found out is that with all of them, they had other people in their life that helped them. You see what I found out about myself? I had people in my life that helped me too. But guess what? The people that I had wasn't the right people. Or they loved me dearly. They loved me. If I needed somebody to come with me and it was going to be some shooting or some fighting, they was right there with me. If it was going to be some drug dealing, it was right there with me. But they couldn't teach me how to continue my tennis career. They couldn't teach me how to be a lawyer, a doctor. And that's what's missing in our community. See, we don't have people that's going back to our neighborhood that's teaching our children. That's why you all are so important. You all are here getting this information, and trust me, if there's ever going to be a change, it's going to have to come through you. See, I took it on myself now. It's my job to go back into my community and bring this information that I've learned, because nobody else is going to do it. I mean, you've been in the community, you know that nobody goes back into the ghetto and share with these children the information that we know. These children don't know that being a doctor or being a lawyer, how much money they make. But on every corner you go, there's somebody can teach them about selling drugs. There's somebody can teach them how to cook up drugs. See, I didn't know how to work a scale. I didn't know what a gram was. I didn't know what a kilo was. I didn't know what an ounce was. I didn't know what a half ounce was, what a quarter ounce was. But they taught me. See, I thought that I was unteachable. They had me fooled. My community had beat me down so bad that I had low self-esteem of myself. I didn't know what it was that I could do with myself. And I fell into that trap. And so many of us fall into that same trap. Like right now, our rappers believe that all they can rap about is selling dope, tipping our women, and disrespecting them. But it's up to us to let them know that we're not going to buy that stuff. If that's what you're going to talk about, we're not going to support it. Because if you support what he's saying, and if these youngsters see him doing so well, then they're going to think that it's cool. See, we got to make it where gangsterism ain't fashionable no more. Because when we started doing what we was doing, we wasn't doing it for fashion. We was doing it out of ignorance. One of the things that I admired about Tookie, because he was one of my heroes before they killed him, was that he started to change. He had woke up. And when I was in prison, I had a life sentence. He was on death row. I saw him changing, and I said, you know what, if Took can change, you can change. And that's when I started my transformation. I started writing my book after I saw that he wrote a book. I started writing my movie script after I saw he wrote a movie script. So what I'm saying is so important for all of us to start taking the initiative to better our communities. And when you all get this information that you get here, it's so important that you come back to our communities. It's so important. That's what I'm doing right now. And it ain't just about money. See, what I learned from my drug dealing was what a lot of people don't know about me. When I sold drugs, I didn't start selling drugs to make money. I started selling drugs to help a friend. I didn't even know there was no money in the drugs at first. Yeah, one of my friends, he needed some help. So I started helping him. And as I started to help him, I started to learn about what was going on in the business. I basically became a drug expert. And when you become an expert in any field that you're in, you're going to do good at it. You know, I started to know where the drugs sold, how, where was they cheap at, where to go buy, who bought it, what day they bought it. See, what else I found out about a